Hi, Joanna.
Okay.
Just waiting on Chris.
I'm charge her real quick. Right
Okay,
back.
there he is.
Hello?
Hey,
I got
Chris.
this.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I thought the meeting's at 8 o'clock tonight.
Nope.
No.
7.
So from now on, the next meeting is at 8 o'clock?
So January 8th is at 7, and then after that, it's at 8, depending on if we pass the resolution.
Wow. Is who else is on here?
It's just us three today. I think Corey and Chinook are unavailable, and they had told me in advance.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there anyone from the audience? Is there anyone on Zoom?
Yep.
We have three members of the public.
All right. Well then let's get started. Wow. um uh Welcome everyone. This isn't Thursday. This is Tuesday, December 30th, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
um, Let me do the opening statement. Um, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 30th meeting of Milburn Township Charter Study Commission, which is called to order in accordance with Section 5 to the Open Public Act, Chapter Public Laws 1975. Be advised that this notice of the meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in the town hall and forwarding to the official designated newspapers that this meeting would take place on Zoom on Tuesday, December 30th. Meeting details and draft agenda will be um, posted. I guess we'll what you call it, salute the flag. Should we do this? Oh,
Sure.
Jerry, I see the American flag there.
There we
Yes.
go. We're
All right, let's
saluting.
go. I pledge allegiance to the
Allegiance to the
flag of the
flag
United
of the
States of
United States of
America,
America
to the
and to the
republic for which it
republic for which it
stands, one
stands,
nation under
nation
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
for
with
all
liberty and justice for all.
All right, good. Roll call.
Right. Mr. Biller, Dr. Young is present. Ms. Parker Lentz,
Present.
Mr. Tenna, Mr. Drucker.
Here.
Okay.
Could I have approval of the agenda?
Before we do that, I just wanted to point out that it's Tuesday and not Thursday, so there's a typo on the agenda. So I make a motion to amend and then also to approve with that amendment. I don't know if we
Okay.
have to do it separately, but
Do I make a motion to amend? Are you-
sure. I'll second that motion.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I second that.
Uh-oh, we lost Mr. Drucker.
Yikes.
We'll give him a moment to reconnect.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
All right. So can we have approval of the agenda?
Yeah, so I vote in favor. I vote in favor.
I vote in
Okay.
favor as well.
All right.
Right.
Perfect.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we have the minutes of the December 18th, 2025 meeting?
Yeah, I sent those last night.
Yep.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I second that.
Right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any reports so far?
So just one report. So I've been working with the township employees to fix up our website a little bit based on the feedback we got last time. So the agenda is hopefully a little more accessible. I still need to work on getting the recordings up, so I will do that right after the meeting tomorrow. Hopefully, I don't know if township employees are working tomorrow, but I'll get the recordings of the prior meetings up on the web as well.
And I also have a report. Well, actually, I will do my report. I spoke with, I had a meeting today with Chris Myers, and for the dates going forward, for us to use the Bauer Center as our meeting. And we went over each and every date, which I will give everyone later on in our meeting. We can use the Bauer Center for all the dates that we ask for. We will use the fireplace room in the back there. So that's a very, very good news, because as you folks can see, I'm very good with Zoom. All right, let's go to public comment. To speak during the public comment period, please follow these instructions. Ensure your Zoom display name show your first and last name. Click the raised hand button when public comment is announced. You will be called upon in order and promoted to panelists. Turn on your video when called to speak. Clearly state your full name and whether you are a Millburn resident or business owner to facilitate an orderly meeting and permit all to be heard. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Does anyone have anything to say?
I see one hand raised, so Tom Hilder, let me panelist.
I'm still muted. Okay.
Ready to go. All right, good evening, everybody. I had some questions. This is the first meeting I've attended on behalf of the Short Hills Association. But in advance, I'm not quite sure what has occurred so far, but these are some of the issues that I wanted to raise. One administrative thing. You did have a meeting on December 18th, and is there a video? Has that been published? Is that available to review? That's one of my questions. Second question, I see the motion to hire Michael Collins, which I applaud. I also applaud, by the way, the ability to get access to the agenda, which I was able to do tonight. So those are two good things that you folks are doing. One of my other questions, though, is whether you intend to employ a municipal expert like Mark Pfeiffer or some other qualified person to assist you, because I think that could be very helpful in dealing with interviews and what questions that you form to ask the people you're interviewing and what perspective and background it would give you. And while we're on the question of interviews, one question I have is, are you going to publish the questions that you're going to ask the interviewers? Other people like either Red Bank or Hamdel have done that. And with regard to the interviews, are you going to publish the results, not as part of, say, a final report, but on an interim basis, either by publishing memos, or I don't know how you're doing the interviews, whether you're doing transcripts or not, recording the interviews or not. But it would be helpful to see those, I think, to see those interviews as we go along. Another question I have is whether you're going to get any public input to the questions. So several towns did publish the questions that they're going to ask. I think that is Red Bank. And it would be helpful, I think, to your work if you had some public input as to the questions. You might get some ideas from the public. That would be helpful things you can't think of everything. And that would help you expand that. Also, I'd be interested in hearing what your plans are for public outreach generally and get input of the public. The mention of the Bauer meetings, I don't know if that means now that those meetings will be in person rather than Zoom. I'm assuming that's what that's referring to, but maybe I have that wrong. So I also would be interested in being told who is going to be interviewed. I mean, are you going to interview the existing township committee members, which you may have done already, former members, former employees? Again, I think a public input in that may or may not be helpful. You can get the information, you may disregard it, you may say, "Gee, that's a good idea." So that would be something that you could do. So those are my questions initially for you folks. Thank you.
Can I tackle a few answers? Or did you want to tackle them, Chris?
I think all three of us will answer Tom's questions. No, we are not publishing the questions for our people that we are going to interview and people
beforehand.
that
we'll publish them after.
interview. I'm sorry?
We will publish them beforehand, but we are publishing them after.
We are not publishing them beforehand. Okay. And their answers will be in our final report. I am not going to give their answers to the public right away. If the public has questions, right, we will address we have the ability to go back to each person that we have interviewed so far. So far, we have interviewed all the current township committee people. We have interviewed all of 4 of the department heads. And let me tell you guys something. Since it's unofficial, we have gotten so many honest and forthright answers to our questions. And Dr. Jerry Kahn, myself, and Joanna, we formulated these questions, and I can guarantee you nobody has any other questions that we haven't thought of. But if the public has questions, we will be more than happy to go over them. And if we miss something, we will go back to the respective people that we have interviewed. Joanna, do you have anything else to say?
Yes. So I think, Tom, what would have been helpful if we did have, if we were able to get the employees to put our videos up, you would have seen in our last meeting that we discussed that we were going to tackle the current TC members first, all the department heads, and at least 1 to 2 employees per department. As we see fit, the interview's already started, and we also had the business administrator, town clerk, and the exiting assistant business administrator. We wanted to catch him before he left. We figured in an effort to get people while they're downtime, during the holidays, there wasn't a whole lot of other business. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't put them under pressure to start meeting with us, because these are pretty long meetings. Some of them have been minimum an hour and a half. Some have lasted, almost 3 hours. So we are trying to be as thorough as we can. We want to respect the employees' honesty, and we want them to give us real perspective, critique, and be able to speak forthrightly in front of us and give them some privacy as well. So we will be sharing sort of communal results, like this is what the general feeling is from across the department heads, across the employees. I think what we haven't decided yet, we'll have to discuss it with the attorney once we start, getting information from him. We were told that was going to be a big step. And before we actually decide to hire Mr. Pfeiffer, we figured we'd talk to the attorney and get a lot of our questions answered of what's allowed, what's not allowed, as far as publishing and things like that, what's safe to maintain, the honest responses. And the only reason why we weren't publishing the answers before, we don't really want people who we were interviewing to have so much time to think about it. We absolutely want follow-up questions, and every single person that we've met with has been so generous with their time, and they're willing to, they understand the public hasn't had a chance to give public opinion on questions. And actually, I'm seeing 2 people in our attendee list who are on my list to reach out to, but I realized we don't have each other's cell phone numbers. I meant to text both Tom and Jay the other day about some questions I had for you both. From the Civic Association research that you've already done. And as we mentioned, when we all met with the folks who ran and didn't win, we would like to have periodic meetings with groups like that, because we do realize that people may not come in person. They're certainly, if they're not coming to these meetings as often, we want to go to them as well and keep the dialogue open. We appreciate any, assistance with opinions that you have about what questions you'd like asked for current TC, past TC, and the people that we've talked about from the past TC. I mean, it really, we're going back to ask people from the 1985 until, a couple of years ago. We're trying to be very thorough to catch people from both, the R's and the D's, and make sure that we cover a wide variety of TCs that experience different issues, whether they experienced complete streets, they experienced Hurricane Ida. So we're going to try to have a nice cross section of people that served. And then that's part of our phase 1 study. So that's sort of the recap from the video that you didn't see yet, Tom. Anything else that I'm missing, gentlemen?
Dr. Khan, do you have anything to add?
No, let me just make sure, because I wrote down a lot of notes, but both of you gave very comprehensive answers to, I think, all of them. I did just want to add and reiterate that I think there is value in not having the questions be public. In the interviews I sat in on, you get people's honest answers rather than they get the questions in advance and they sort of tell you what they think you want to hear. And as Joanna said, everyone's been more than happy to let us revisit if necessary. So I don't think, certainly we haven't come up with the whole universe of questions that can possibly be asked, but we will be conducting a public outreach effort to, gather opinions from the public and see whether or not we should augment the questions that we have been asking and revisit the folks that we have interviewed.
Okay. Does anyone else from the public have their hand raised, Jerry?
Yes.
I see Tom again. Do we want to let him back in or wait until second?
Let's
Yeah.
wait till
Oh, you think wait?
the second period, okay?
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone else from the public?
It's just Tom. It's just Tom. So we're a small group. I mean, we started the dialogue last time, so
Why don't we wait until the end in case any of our business answers his questions,
Oh, okay.
and then we can, if there is a need to, do again, then we can
Right, we
let
did it
him
on the
back in.
second round. I think
Right.
we were able to answer a lot of things. What you might have missed also, just to catch you up, is Jay brought up the point that perhaps we could have a little mini dialogue at the end, and that is what we did. So perhaps, I guess you're right, Jerry, if we can.
Yeah, just in
Let
case
him-
our business answers whatever question he has.
Okay. And then we'll come back to everybody.
All right. Resolutions ratifying and confirming Resolution 25-004, authorizing the award of contract for legal services, Charter Study Commission, Attorney King, Monash, and Collins. And 25-005, adopting Charter Study Commission meeting schedule. So going back to 04, we have found Michael Collins to represent us, and I don't have the number in front of me.
Yeah, this is 25004R. So I just wanted to add some context. So last time we adopted 25004, but it's my fault. I was away with my family, so I didn't get the notice actually published. So this is just to ratify the resolution and to create the fresh 10-day publication schedule. So, we're doing this all correctly. The substance hasn't changed. It's still the same firm at the same rate, and it's just purely procedural. But I did want to add, because in the intervening time period, based on Mr. Biller's suggestion from last meeting, whether we could get a discount if we go above the 45,000. So Michael Collins did agree that if we do exceed that, he's willing to lower the hourly rate to $175 per hour. So we'll be able to get that in. And I think that was very generous of him to lower that rate if we were to exceed the 45,000. So I'd like to make a motion to make a couple amendments to the resolution. The first is to just make a note after point 3. So right now it says that legal services will be provided at a blended hourly rate of $225 per hour, not to exceed, without prior commission approval. And then we can say something along the lines of a blended hourly rate of $175 per hour will apply on after the 45,000 limit has been reached. And then also I wanted to add in the updated certification of funds. So this would read, I, Matthew Laracy, Chief Financial Officer of the Township of Millburn, do hereby certify that sufficient funds will be available in the 2026 municipal budget for Charter Study Commission legal services to be performed by King, Mensch, and Collins LLP in an amount not to exceed $45,000. And Matthew resent me that certification earlier today. So I just wanted to amend the resolution with those two items.
I will second your motion.
Right.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good. And how about 25005, adopting Charter Study?
Well, before we get, so now we have to adopt the motion as amended. So I'll make a motion to pass 25004 as amended.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
I think we need a roll call vote.
Oh, roll call. Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call.
So Mr. Biller is absent. Dr. Kung votes yes. Ms. Parker Lentz,
Votes yes.
Mr. Tana is absent, and Mr. Drucker.
Yes.
All right. The motion passes.
Good. Now, 25005, adopting Charter Study Commission meeting schedule. Jerry, do you have the ability to put that on the site right now? Or
So the dates should be in the publicly accessible agenda. So if the public goes onto the website and clicks the agenda, it should be page 6 of the packet. And we'll have a list of all the meeting dates.
good. Could I have a motion to accept the dates for the upcoming meetings at the Bauer Center?
I'll make that motion.
And I will second the motion.
Right. Roll call, Jerry.
All right. Mr. Billard absent. Dr. Cohn votes yes. Ms. Parker-Lentz,
Votes yes.
Mr. Tenaz absent, and Mr. Drucker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Moving right along. Old business, interviews and community outreach. Well, we sort of went over that with Tom. Should we go over it again?
I guess we can, do we clarify a little bit more? I mean, is this the time we kind of, do we update on our general feelings of what we're getting back from people?
Yeah.
I think we should wait till we have more interviews and more information to give to the public. What do you think, Dr. Khan and Joanna?
Well, I wanted to add, I guess, just update that Joanna and I sat down with Alex McDonald, the business administrator, for sort of the first part of the interview.
We're nowhere near done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was almost 3 hours. I mean, there's so much to go over, and there's so much knowledge that we have to gain, and we are planning on, going back in time and interviewing his predecessor as well, and we're trying to set up our next set of questions on things that may have come up during these interviews that allow us to ask more questions. And of course, every question that we have to start with leads to more questions as they give us their answers. So there's a lot to learn still, on what we're going to ask the next set of, I mean, really the last BA would have been the one that's most important for us to learn from as well, since that's who trained Alex and came in at a major change in our structure of how things were done with TC members.
And I think just to further answer Tom's question from earlier, we are not recording these interviews, so we are taking notes. I think the thinking there is that when you record an interview, people are less likely to speak honestly. They might think that it could be used against them or in other capacities. So I think the note taking really also just allows us to stay in the moment and make sure we are asking any follow-up questions as necessary. I think in terms of publishing memos, or I don't know what the commission thinks about that. I think it does make sense once phase 1 is complete to have some sort of summary of what we have learned from the interviews, and I don't see why that shouldn't be made public.
Mm-hmm.
Other commissioners might have thoughts on that, but I do think that even just for us internally, if we have to gather all of our thoughts as we wrap up one phase and then embark on the next phase, or it's not like phase 1 is sort of put to bed once we're done. We can always revisit it and ask more questions as stuff comes up in phase 2. So I think that's sort of the thinking there. I do worry about putting, as Mr. Drucker said, about putting out too much information before we finish wrapping up sort of the majority of the interviews, just so that we should at least have visited all of the interviewees once before we put anything out there.
Yes. And just so the folks out there know, the department heads, we spoke with each one of them, and they lasted over an hour and a half. And we are taking big time notes, and I want to summarize them, and then we will have the public outreach, and we will give a synopsis of each and every interview that
As a group.
that we have done, and
Yeah,
so
as a group,
I
though,
just
Chris.
want to
We're not doing individuals.
I just want to let the public know we are taking this extremely serious. We are spending umpteen amount of hours interviewing these people. So if anyone out there thinks we are not doing our job, they are totally wrong. So again, we'll set a date for the community outreach.
Well, community outreach, I think we should talk about. It's more than setting a date. It's just coming up with the agenda of, places. And I think we started to tackle that at our last meeting. So we talked about putting it out there, making this process accessible to people. And I think this week is tough because a lot of people are traveling. So the airwaves are a bit wasted. But what we want to make sure is that we can collect on the website, as we mentioned last time we met, that the questions we'll have the ability to have people put their submissions in, and it'll be limited to specifically, TC or building department heads or past TC members, and then phase 2 will be for the government. So we'll section out how we want the questions to come in, so we don't get random questions from people. Although I'm sure we can sift through them. It's not like we're going to get 100 people giving opinions. And I do think hopefully people will, start showing up in person and giving their opinions on things that, that they want to give opinions on. We would like to use, Google Groups. There's plenty of them out there in our town. We'd like to use, I'm a little worried about Happy Millburn because it's not limited to Millburn Short Hills residents. So between WorkBomb, newcomers, 1,000 WhatsApp groups that people are connected to through all the schools, through personal networks, and just try to outreach, it's like civic associations in town, any charities that we're connected to, maybe invite them to say, hey, community members, we'd love to hear your opinions. This is the website. This is where you can click to put your questions through. This is where you click to see agendas. This is our website for our past meetings and things like that. So, and get that pushed out there, hopefully by next week, maybe, as people return from vacations and New Year.
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to sort of get our website in order with FAQs in terms of. I think a lot of folks in town still are unclear as to what exactly our mandate is and what exactly we're studying. So the more information out there, the better. So I'm happy to work on that over the next week. I know I had said that at the prior meeting, but holidays
travel,
and everything.
Travel notwithstanding, it's been really hard to get together. I know you and I have met, but we spent so many hours interviewing, and again, we all still have professional careers and private lives and a lot of charity work that we do. So we will get our FAQs together. I am available this week as well, not traveling. So I'm sure you and I could sit down and finalize our FAQs that have been in our heads and that we've talked about verbally the past couple of hours that we've spent on the phone, you and I. So we can do that, tackle that this weekend and make sure that it's up by the next meeting.
Perfect.
All right.
And I have the Google Forms sort of ready to go. So I'll try to get that up sooner rather than later. Perfect being the enemy of the good, I think it's better to just get what we can piecemeal
Correct.
up there, and we can iterate as necessary.
But I would also love to sit down with, I think we were talking about, certainly representatives from the Civic Association to meet with us to go over some of the things that we might have floating in our heads, and the opinions will come in before our next meeting as well. So hopefully that will help shape maybe how the FAQ looks, or, go through some of the questions that we've been asking and get some one-on-one time.
Yeah,
so
especially since Jay and Tom are both on.
We'd love to interview Jay and Tom.
Well, I guess given their interest in the subject, I think it will be very productive for us to sit down with them and discuss that outside of a regular meeting.
Yes. So we can only do that as 2 people. So I vote, Jerry, you and I do that, since we're going to be working on the FAQ and I'm going to be largely in charge of the outreach, because and of course all of us have our own networks, but I'm going to try to tackle, when we post something, these are the 15 places that we post the same information. So it's easy to click and easy to just send. I understand sending in a WhatsApp group might be something different than what we might put in an email, but we'll have a succinct version and more long form as well.
And once we get all of that in order, I think we can more regularly send push notifications as to when our meetings are, so that then people will actually know what meeting they're attending and what they can contribute.
Yeah. Hopefully, like every Monday, we can say, hey, we invite you to this Tuesday or Thursday meeting, or Sunday night. We can decide, when that is, and it just becomes a regular rollout.
I do wonder if we should, we have adopted the meeting schedule. Those are just our sort of regular business meetings. I wonder if it makes sense, and certainly we can discuss this offline, given that two of the members are now present, if we have a date, perhaps even on a weekend, sort of like a community forum where people can come and actually have that dialogue.
On
Just
Sunday,
because,
maybe?
yeah, so something like that, because, a lot of people are commuting, they have kids that they have to tend to late at night. So, if I just want to make sure we're covering all of our bases. So when the schedule was created, I tried to make sure we got all of the weekdays. But certainly there are folks that can only attend on weekends. So just want to make sure we, not trying to exclude anyone. We want everyone to participate if they can. So maybe it makes sense for us to schedule like something at the library, just like a, if it's not an actual meeting, we can't more than two of us be there. So we could also just notice it and have it, if we want all of us there. We could do something like that as well. So just putting that out there.
Okay.
Yeah, we could put that on a agenda for all of us to be there to answer any and all questions from the public. Yeah, I mean,
let's think about the timeline of that. Like, if it's going to be something, do we do that once a month? Do we do it once every 6 weeks? Do we do it at the end of, phase one, or middle of phase one, then end of, then middle of phase two, then end of? So like,
right. We all can discuss that at a later date,
Or it might be something like we could have a phase one wrap up presentation or something like that, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
And then we should notice it, because it'd be nice to have more of us there, or at least more than two, because if people have questions or different opinions, we can all get asked that, and people can have access to us in person.
Mm-hmm.
And we should also be cognizant of the fact that not everyone wants to come in person. So Zoom meetings are good for some people, and especially since they get recorded. And I don't know what technology we have in the Bauer Center to record us.
They do have the ability to,
Fantastic.
have Zoom and record us. Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
we can thank Frank for procuring a second knee board. He's on the call.
Ooh, wow. Well, thank you,
Right.
Frank Saccomundi. Yay.
So
are we done with hour two, and is it time to question answer?
it's time for the public comment. I hope I don't have to read that again. Dr. Khan, do I have to read this again?
You're the chair. I don't think you have to read it again.
I'll read it again.
You don't have to.
No.
You already read it the first time.
Let's just go to the public comments.
All right.
Again, okay.
All right.
Somebody raise your hand.
I'll promote Tom to panelist.
Okay. I think Tom has his mute button on.
There we go.
Limits to my dexterity here too.
All right.
Get on.
We gotcha.
Function up, whatever. First
Tom,
of all,
thank you
it's
for,
very clear you folks are doing a lot of work, and I commend you for that. I mean, just some of the interviews, all that time. You're making me grateful I was not elected to the commission because you're really, just the idea of an hour and a half interview here and all of that. So I'm very conscious of what that must mean, whether you're working or you're retired like I am. So I do commend you for that and taking that seriously. I just want to go back. It was a little difficult for me because in the middle of you responding to me, the Zoom went blank. I don't know what happened here, what gods were affecting that. But so I'm, if I'm slightly repetitious here, you'll have to forgive me, but that may be the reason. But what I want to focus on is this question of public interviews. Now, in Red Bank, they interviewed publicly former officials, the business administrator, sitting members of the governing body. Put those in a class for a second. Forget employees and whatever. I mean, I think you should consider doing some of those publicly. Those are not people who have to, quote, worry about what they say, afraid that they'll lose their jobs. Behind all that concern, I'm interested in the questions because I'm wondering what questions make people feel they may be vulnerable if they're candid as opposed to guarded in their answers. And other, whether it's Homdale or Red Bank, did publish the list of questions. So I get the sense of, this is not a criminal investigation where people are taking the Fifth Amendment because they don't want to answer a question that deals with their job. So I'm wondering what these questions are. So I think you should reconsidering publishing. And I know, Chris, you think that you have thought of every question that a man can think or a woman can think of. I would suggest, that may not necessarily be true because people have different perspectives. But just to stay on the public interviews, I think that would be very helpful. And when you're interviewing township committee members or people who've had or a former business administrator, you don't have to worry about that concern where you might, as you do, worry about employees not being candid or worried about their jobs or not getting promoted or whatever. And other people have done that. So there is a precedent for doing that. So I really think that you ought not to be worried about that. And I don't really see any reason other than I don't really see any reason why in a limited amount you wouldn't do that. And in connection with that, it would be interesting to know who you have interviewed so far. Is there a problem with saying this is what we've done? I mean, you gave some general description, but is there a list of this is what we've done so far, and or maybe you don't want to identify people you intend to interview if they're employees. I'm not so sure I agree with that, but that may be a thinking. But anyway, let's go back if I can get an answer to the question of why you're not having any public interviews as other towns have done.
I will. Can I answer that for a moment? So what the benefit that I found in the way that we've just been dealing with it now is we get a lot of anecdotal stories in addition to our questions. I don't think people would be as candid discussing things publicly when telling us stories that will help inform, some of the decisions going forward, or at least our thought process and our learning. Right now, we're in the really deep learning phase. So I think we would love to, give everyone sort of general thoughts of like, this is what everyone's advice is. But those anecdotal stories sometimes paint a slightly different picture. We're trying to get it's not investigative research where we're getting people in trouble, but people feel like they're getting in trouble when they're on camera. If they're, certainly from an employee standpoint, I would never want to put, someone who works in the police department and as a police officer or sergeant, where they feel like, oh gosh, now someone's going to see what I said. They didn't like what I said. Maybe I misspoke. It makes people nervous. And I just feel like when we're dealing with this in person, it's just a much kinder, gentler way to be interviewed. I mean, one of the employees that we met with, Chris and I sat there and he's like, I'm sweating. I'm like, I'm so nervous. I don't know why. And we've known him for years. He's been an employee of the town for so long. Chris and I work with him personally for like the last 10 years on, one event that we work on, and Chris has been working with him for another gazillion years on 4th of July committee. Yet he was still nervous just by the interview process. Nobody wants to get their boss in trouble. Nobody wants to get themselves in trouble. So we were able to get really good stories from like, well, when I joined and it was, 20 some odd years ago, and this is how it was back then under that business administrator or this and that. We've just been able to get candid stories. And I don't know if it's going to help the public make decisions when they go vote, but I do think it'll help us inform ourselves on maybe how nuanced to ask another question or how to make someone feel comfortable. And I think the gift that, sometimes you bring to the table is that informality of those questions. And I agree with you, Tom. I think if we have a public set of questions that are asked, perhaps it is just to either the head. And I think current TC people, I think we're trying to get honest opinions to start with. So maybe there is a second set. We can discuss that of like what can get asked later as follow-up questions. Like, hey, we're returning and the public want to see your real answers. So it's not just in our notes, and we can discuss that. I think, personally, I think I would love your opinion, like to flesh this out a little more than just a back and forth in public comment. But I feel like if Jerry and I could sit down and I can, ask we can kind of have more of a chat about it just to see what the consequences would be and why do we want those to be recorded or public. And I would love to, I'm probably going to want to see the recorded sessions from Red Bank just to see how people answer versus how people have been answering us in more private setting.
Well, on the thought that we're doing is a dialogue, and very briefly, I think it can make a distinction between employees and all the things you just said, Joanna, and what their concerns would be. I don't see why that would be a concern for persons who are on the township committee now, why it would be a concern for former members of the township committee. I'm talking about on the executive, loosely termed executive things, former business administrator, former township committee members. I don't think that kind of concern of an employee is what this going to mean to me and how it would threaten, so I think it can make a division between those kind of, for want of a better term, I'll call executive employees or former officials who were elected former members of the township committee. And we've got numbers of them living in town, former mayors and whatever. I think you could do that publicly. So would be my response to that. I think you have to make a division between the kinds of people you're worried about. They'll freeze up. And that's why I think another reason why I think the questions that are being asked are worried, because I'm interested in knowing what question, and I'm not arguing the point anymore about the employees. I understand what your point of view is, but what questions would be asked there that relate to the form of government? This is not so much a question of or maybe it goes to the general question of what is the most efficient form of government, and the answer to that question relates somehow to whether or not we should change our form of government. The answers to some of the employees' questions relate to having a township committee.
Tom, let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
We have asked those questions.
What do you mean?
Form of government.
No, he's making a different point, though, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joanne. Maybe you. Well, okay. The point
I understand where you're getting at, Tom.
Go ahead.
I also want to understand where Tom's coming from.
Yeah. What I'm saying is when there are certain kinds of questions that
we have differentiated between departments and TC, and we haven't interviewed yet our former business administrator yet. We're still in the process of interviewing our current business administrator. So,
but the questions that are asked of those people, like you just said, Chris, would be different from those.
Correct.
They are.
And so that I suggest to you that you have no need and no fear on the part of the interviewee of those kinds of things for former public officials, or if they are the business administrator. I mean, these are the people who have run and are running our town. And that's different from somebody in the rec department or some other department.
We're on the same, Tom, we're on the same page as that.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting to you and have suggested to you that you publish the questions, because there are things about former administrators and so forth that you might be, again, the focus on the form of government, like when you were mayor, why didn't you put a traffic light on such and such street? That has nothing to do with the form of government.
Right.
You would ask that kind of question to begin with. So that's what I'm suggesting to you. And that's why I think making those people public so we can see that as a thing. So I think I just wanted to make those points, and I think you have to differentiate. But when I don't know the questions that are being asked, I'm thinking to myself, what question is being asked to an employee that they're thinking about their job? And that somehow relates to the form of government, as opposed to, do you think a supervisor is doing a good job in managing the municipality funds? That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the form of government. This is not an investigation of, do we have a government that is, I'll make this up, corrupt, for example, some hypothetical. That's just my point. I don't want to belabor it at this hour, but that I think is important for you consider. And as I said, you can see where other towns have. If you look at the Charter Study Commission report from Hamdel and Red Bank, and Mr. Collins, who I commend your hiring, he was the counsel for Red Bank. And he participated in this, and I think he will be able to give you a broader perspective. Whether you agree with them or not, it's another question, on these issues. And so Tom, I think you're making a good step. That's it.
Tom, thank you very much. And everything you said, we will take under advisement, and going forward, we will have a public session for questions that we will be able to answer.
And-
Joanna, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to answer the part one, when Tom mentioned that you had blacked out screens, so it might be a redundant question. You may not have heard me the first time when I was rambling on. So the one thing I was saying is that, I suggested for Jerry, myself, you, and Jay Moriali to get together, to have a more comprehensive discussion about some of these points, because we wanted to get your opinions. Since you've done a lot of research for the civic association that you belong to, that we would love to just go into a bit more of the minutia. And obviously we can't do it as a group of three with, or any more than the two of us, without it being a public session. So we'd love to get some more of your opinions and just pick your brains. So I was suggesting a little Jay Moriali and Tom Hildner informal interview, not recorded, not for the public.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to me.
So
Dr. Khan, do you have anything else to add here?
I did not, but I do. So, I don't know if it's a matter of questions making people feel vulnerable or not. I think it's just there. I do feel there is value to have, not necessarily all of the, maybe some of the interviews can be public, and as Joanna said, we can discuss more with Tom and Jay offline. But I do think for the bulk of the interviews, it makes sense, and people do feel, much more open and honest and willing to, dive into those tangents that I think are very informative during those interviews. So I don't know, it's not that we're, as Tom was trying to say, it's that we're not conducting a criminal investigation here. We're just trying to learn as much as we can about our current form of government and informing any potential recommendations. So, I guess that's just a long way of saying I don't think the questions are, trying to, unearth criminal activity or anything, right? That we're trying to learn here, and certainly we're happy to sit down with Tom and Jay to, identify more questions that they think would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Does anyone else from the public have a comment?
I do not see any hands raised.
All right. With that, I think it's a wrap. Does somebody want to?
Let me just add. I communicated with Mike Collins. He'll be at our next meeting. We will also anticipate all of the commissioners being present, and that's going to be Thursday, January 8th at 7 p.m. And also over Zoom.
Excellent. It's going to be good to have everyone back from their holiday vacations and everything like that. So that's going to be a very, very interesting and important meeting for us, And with that, does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Jared, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the next meeting.